Hello there everyone and welcome to the news tonight where we get you the day's top stories, and today as well our focus continues on Nepal, the fourth day of rescue operations. I'm Tracy Shilchi and let's start the show with the headlines. Reaching rescue workers to interior areas still a challenge in Nepal as the official death toll crosses 5,000. Geographical hindrances and coordination issues hamper the distribution of aid. The Union Cabinet clears 100 smart city projects besides housing projects initiated by the previous government. Corruption is classified as a heinous crime, inviting more stringent punishment. Rahul Gandhi lashes out at the government in the Lok Sabha on the issue of agrarian distress, takes a dig at the PM's Make in India program, citing the farmers' contribution. And Japan and the US move forward toward pulling down trade barriers and sign a defense agreement to counter the China threat. Prime Minister Abe and President Obama hold a meet in Washington. Starting with the latest from Nepal, 4 days after the massive earthquake, the death toll has climbed beyond 5,000, while over 10,000 are injured. Distribution of aid and reaching relief operations to the most interior areas still remain the biggest challenges before rescue teams from across the world. Here are the details.
Still awaiting help, aid, supplies. In Harisiddhi, the residents themselves rummage in the rubble for what they can save. Nearly 100 hours after the earthquake, hope of finding survivors has faded. The place highlights the immediate challenge of food and essential supplies for those left with literally nothing. Aid that's reported to be flooding into Kathmandu remains absent in these parts. Villagers have no idea when they might get help. They share whatever scraps of food they can pull out from beneath their ruined buildings.
हाम्रो यो घर चाहिँ यस्तो भड्केको थियो तर यहाँ चाहिँ धेरै राहत पनि आइसक्यो भन्छ दाल मर्चिउरा अनि चामल रासन बनाएछ भन्छ हाम्रो हातमा चाहिँ केही परेको छैन सर
अब हाम्रो भनाइ छ अब केही अब सरकारी हर चीज दलहरू हुन्छ हर पार्टीहरू हुन्छ अलिकति यसो सहयोगी.
The rescuers have yet to reach some of the worst-hit villages near the epicenter, Lamjong, Gorkha, Tading, Sindhu Palchok, Kavre and Nuakot, among others. Relief work remains delayed partly due to bad weather and geographical hindrance, but also because of lack of coordination among the authorities. India today enlarged its relief and rescue operations in quake-hit Nepal beyond Kathmandu to the worst-affected epicenter areas, and rushed Gorkha soldiers to remote places to assess the kind of assistance required. NDRF personnel alongside the Indian Army and Air Force are in the forefront of operations.
हम लोगों का प्राइमरी फोकस जो है वो सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशंस में है. अभी तक हम लोगों ने 11 लाइव विक्टिम्स को निकाला है और 84 डेड बॉडीज को रिट्रीव किया है. अगले 2 दिनों तक हम सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशंस में और तेजी लाएंगे और ये कोशिश करेंगे कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को हम निकाल सकें.
Makeshift hospitals from relief material and medical supplies have increased operations, looking to penetrate further into the interiors. Activities around aid distribution are frequently coordinated from these camps.
We have contacted the army authorities here, the civil authorities here, medical college people here, that we have our hospital is ready, our OT is ready for operation, and we have liaised with the KGMC, that is Kathmandu Medical College people, and they are, the medical team is here and they're given okay.
At Kathmandu's biggest relief camp, set up hours after Saturday's earthquake, there are finally signs of people wanting to go back home as aftershocks reduce in number. Municipal workers have begun cleaning the streets, but here too there's a long and daunting way to go, reviving work and industry starting virtually from scratch.
बहुत कष्टकर गुजारे हम लोग जो है कि है ना बहुत भयानक जो है कि यहाँ पर था. अभी भी तो दहशत है हम लोगों के अंदर में जो है कि है ना हल्का फुल्का अभी भी जाने का इच्छा नहीं करता है जो है कि.
Post-quake challenges, disease, insanitation and cleaning up the rotting bodies have emerged as the next big challenge, besides the already prevalent water and food shortages. It's a slow fight out of collapse all around. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Meanwhile, more Indians have returned from the quake-ravaged Nepal since yesterday. The centre has pressed in massive services to evacuate people from affected areas. India has sent 13 military aircraft to Kathmandu to ferry Indians who are stranded. Air India flights are also being used for evacuations. The chaotic situation at Kathmandu airport, in fact, has prompted the Indian government to use bus services as well to bring the stranded citizens back home. Survivors who returned since last night say that there are more Indians eagerly waiting for their turn to be rescued.
फ्लाइट तो चालू कर दिया, सिस्टम नहीं बन पा रहा, वही बोल के लोग खड़े हैं, लेकिन पानी नहीं है और कुछ व्यवस्था नहीं है। आज झगड़ा भी हो गया था उधर में, और अर्थ है जो भूकंप के झटके अभी भी आ रहे हैं हल्के फुल्के।
2 रात हम लोग सड़के पर गुजारे हैं लोग, फिर एक दिन और आया है, मतलब खूब जोड़ी से आया था, फिर हम लोग यहाँ से प्लेन भेजा गया था बिहार सरकार हम लोग के लिए, वहाँ पे प्लेन का सुविधा के वहाँ से हम लोग प्लेन से आए हैं। उसके बाद दिल्ली में बिहार निवास में रह के वहाँ से ट्रेन का टिकट कटवा के यहाँ पे आए हैं लोग। उसके बाद
रोड पर हम लोग सोए थे, हम लोग अब सोचे कि अब हम लोग का जान नहीं बचेगा वहाँ पर, तो हम लोग काठमांडू में एयरपोर्ट आए थे, और एयरपोर्ट आए तो हम लोग एक पैसा नहीं लगा। हम 29-30 आदमी हमारा ग्रुप है।
Well, here in RSTV, we're trying to get you voices from India and also those from Nepal. And joining us this evening is Advocate Dinesh Tripathi from Nepal Supreme Court. He's joining us live from Kathmandu. Mr. Tripathi, thank you so much for joining us here on the news tonight. First of all, just give us a sense really of what you're going through at the moment. If you were able to get in touch with your loved ones, have you been able to speak to all of them, and are they all safe?
Can you say it again?
Mr. Tripathi, thank you for joining us. Yes, I'll repeat my question. Just first of all, we'd like to know, if all of you are safe, if you've been able to get in touch with your loved ones.
Yeah, now the life is getting normal in Kathmandu. Now today shops are open. Supply, consumer goods supply is getting normal. And but the huge number of people are leaving Kathmandu. Around 3 lakhs people, they left their villages, because most of the people there in the village, their houses has been damaged, and the people, they want to go to safe places. But now the things are getting more normal, and from today there is a better coordinated rescue and relief operation, I would say.
All right, that's good to know. And also, have the aftershocks reduced now?
Yes.
And slowly, are people slowly returning back to their homes of whatever is left? Are they now feeling, they have some hope in getting into their homes and getting back to normal?
Yeah, there are huge normalization of the situation in Kathmandu, I would say. Now the many offices has been opened from today. And but still people are fearful. They don't want to go to their houses, because the huge number of houses has been damaged. It has been, building has been cracked, and but the thing is that there are sense of relief is there.
Yes.
And now there are the thing is that from today the government has shown tremendous capacity. And now the relief and rescue operation has been carried out in a more coordinated and efficient manner. Now you can see at the ground. So now there are huge number of doctors and rescue personnel. They are going to remote areas, and now the medical teams are there, and water supply is there, the medical supply is there. So I would say that the things are getting better, improving.
That's good to know. That's very,
having confidence now.
Absolutely. That's good to know, really, Mr. Tripathi. All of us here in India, of course, are hoping and praying that everything returns to normal. It's tough to get back to life after the devastation. But, the resilience of your people is also teaching us a lesson or two. Lastly, just give us a sense, really, of what the people of Nepal need at the moment, whether it's in terms of food or shelter or in terms of medicines. What is the crucial thing that people of Nepal need at the moment?
Actually, in this type of disaster, 4 things required. First, the people who are stranded, they need to be rescued and at the war footing, and the relief has to be provided at the war footing. And in the third stage, there is a rehabilitation process needs to be done, because the huge number of houses has been damaged, and people are under open sky in the village areas, even in the Kathmandu also. So how it can be done in a coordinated manner, because it required huge resource, and huge technical capability to provide, shelter to the people. Because look at the Sindhu Palchok district, it's an adjoining district from Kathmandu. More than 50,000 houses has been destroyed.
Absolutely.
So huge number of people are without house, without basic sanitation. Without and there is a health hazard might happen even in Kathmandu also. There is, and the supply chain of the consumer good has been also broken.
Absolutely.
So how it can be put into the normal, and so the tremendous political will required.
Yes, the coming days of course very crucial. Yes, even for the rescue workers and the government.
Proper well thought out policy, how to deal with the situation, how to combat with the situation, and next thing is require a proper institutional vehicle and mechanism.
All right,
and
Mr. Tripathi.
third thing is that resources.
Thank you so much.
On top of that, the political will is also required.
That's right.
In order to deal with the situation.
Absolutely, Mr. Tripathi. Thank you so much for joining us
in a very coordinated manner.
Yes, thank you for joining us and giving us a sense of really the fact that Kathmandu is returning to normal. Of course, there are still many more places and many more families and people to reach. But the efforts are definitely on, and here on RSTV we are going to be getting you constant details. Meanwhile, heading on to more news now, and back home, in fact, the Union Cabinet took a few crucial decisions today. It has approved the increase of MSP for cotton farmers and ease the norms on moisture content in grains for farmers hit by unseasonal rains. It also cleared the PM's flagship 100 Smart Cities project, besides providing amendments to the company's law to improve ease in doing business. Bringing corruption into the heinous crime category, the Cabinet also approved increasing the jail term from 5 to 7 years. Here's a report.
The Union Cabinet met this morning before the Parliament session to discuss the agrarian crisis due to unseasonal rains. In a relief for affected farmers, the Cabinet relaxed the norms on moisture content in wheat grains, crucial to determine its selling price. It has also decided to increase the minimum selling price for cotton. In other major decisions, the Cabinet gave its nod to NDA government's flagship 100 Smart Cities project and the new urban renewal mission with a total outlay of about 1 lakh crore rupees. The Prime Minister's pet 100 Smart Cities project will be executed under a public-private partnership model. In an effort to bring corruption under the heinous crimes category, the Cabinet approved amendments to the Prevention of Corruption Act, which will increase jail terms for convicts from 5 to 7 years. The proposed Amendment Act will also ensure speedy trials limited to 2 years for corruption cases. In some other major decisions, the Cabinet approved amendments to the companies law that will do away with mandatory declaration by a firm before commencing business. It also approved minimum monthly pension for EPFO pensioners to 1,000 rupees. With inputs from Vishal Dahiya, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Meanwhile, the government continues to face questions over the ongoing agrarian crisis in the country. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi led the opposition's charge yet again today in the Lok Sabha, criticizing the government over the plight of farmers. He also took a swipe at the PM's Make in India initiative.
Back from a tour of Punjab mandis, Rahul Gandhi targeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi over the plight of farmers, triggering an uproar in Lok Sabha. The Congress Vice President accused the government of not procuring food grains from farmers. Raising the issue during Zero Hour, he also took a swipe at the Prime Minister's Make in India initiative, questioning whether farmers are not contributing to Make in India by providing food to the entire country.
हम सब के प्रधानमंत्री जी का हिंदुस्तान में टूर लगा है। कुछ दिनों के लिए वो यहाँ आए हैं। पंजाब भी चले जाएं थोड़ी देर के लिए, किसानों से मिल लें, मंडी में बात कर लें, सीधा समझ में आ जाएगा हो क्या रहा है।
However, Food Minister Ramvilas Paswan rejected Rahul Gandhi's charges, saying the government has proactively taken several steps to help the farmers hit hard by unseasonal rains and hailstorms. Food Processing Minister Harsimrat Kaur Badal said the government has announced compensation to farmers besides easing norms to buy food grains.
चमक जो मामला है, लस्टर, उसको हमने जहां 1% भी नहीं था, उसको हम 50 से 90% तक किसानों को हमने छूट देने का काम किया है और पहली बार हुआ है कि फुल वैल्यू कट हमने समाप्त कर दिया है।
पंजाब के प्रोक्योरमेंट के बारे में इन्होंने चर्चा की है। मैं आज आपके द्वारा सारे सांसद को बताना चाहूंगी कि जब कई लोग मौजूद नहीं थे, उस टाइम सरकार किसी वेकेशन पे नहीं काम कर रही थी और 10 दिन पहले अकाली दल और भाजपा की राज्य की सरकार ने फैसला लिया कि किसान को पूरा MSP दिया जाएगा, कोई कटौती नहीं किया जाएगा और पूरी प्रोक्योरमेंट करी जाएगी।
As ruling BJP and opposition parties sparred over the issue, it created an uproar in the lower house, forcing it to adjourn for 10 minutes.
Up to 12:35.
With inputs from Pranav Goswami, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And coming up next, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani assures India to enhance trade through the Pakistan-Afghanistan-Tajikistan trade corridor.
A raging debate on the right to vote. Government wants NRIs to get e-voting rights. Why not domestic migrant workers then? What are the pros and cons of e-voting rights? Find out the answers on Big Picture, 6:30 and 9:30 p.m. only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight, and some good news for policymakers. The World Bank has pegged India's GDP growth to be 7.5% for the current financial year. However, the government's chief economic advisor terms the new GDP numbers puzzling and inconsistent with other indicators. Take a look.
Chief Economic Advisor to the Finance Ministry Arvind Subramanian has raised questions on the credibility of the new GDP data. Addressing Punjab University students, Subramanian said, and I quote, "If you look at all indicators of the Indian economy like credit growth and tax collection, they do not seem to be consistent with the economy supposedly growing at 7.5% or so." Doubts have also been raised by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance. In a report tabled in the Parliament last week, it said the committee is not convinced regarding credibility of the figures, which are showing a sudden jump in the growth rate of various sectors of the economy, including GDP growth rate. Several reputed economists have also questioned the new method to calculate GDP data.
Growth trends that the new series has put forward seem to be at odds with the information that we had from many other leading indicators that were available. We're trying to reconcile both of these and to be able to make sense of the new series growth trends.
Economic analysts say historical data suggests that India's economic growth has been directly linked to growth in the agriculture sector, as it has a cascading effect.
With corporate earnings not taking off, agriculture growing at 0, industry growing at less than 2%, I am very puzzled that that the new GDP series is showing a GDP growth of 7.5%. You know, so that's what I'm saying. It seems that 7.5 is the new 5.5. You know, what used to be 5.5 is now 7.5.
Though top officials continue to question the credibility of the new GDP series that changed the growth projection for the current financial year from just over 5% to nearly 7.5%, the finance minister remains confident. Jaitley even expressed confidence that the Indian economy would grow at 8% between 2015 and 2018. Krishnanand Tripathi's report for Rajya Sabha television.
60 Rajya Sabha MPs of more than 10 parties moved a notice for breach of privilege under Rule 187 in the upper house today. The move was initiated by nominated member of the House and eminent lawyer KTS Tulsi. The privilege motion notice, in fact, has been given against two publications regarding reports published earlier this month about the functioning of the Rajya Sabha Secretariat, which includes Rajya Sabha TV.
Raising the issue in the post-lunch session, Leader of Opposition in the House, Ghulam Nabi Azad, pointed to some newspaper reports published earlier this month about the functioning of Rajya Sabha Secretariat, including RSTV, which, according to the notice, are false, fabricated and malign the image of the House.
6 अप्रैल को और 8 अप्रैल को इस साल के डीएनए और तहलका में ये छपा कि जो राज्यसभा का टेलीविजन है
उसमें 2010 से लेकर 2014 तक 1700 करोड़ रुपए खर्च हुआ, जबकि वास्तवता ये है, सच ये है कि 1700 करोड़ नहीं खर्च हुआ है, 146 करोड़ सिर्फ खर्च हुआ है।
60 MPs from the Congress, SP, BSP, JDU, CPIM and NCP, among others of at least 10 major parties, moved the notice of breach of privilege against the publications. Several members from other parties also supported the leader of opposition and praised RSTV for impartial and effective dissemination of information.
These are malicious, contrary to record. Nobody was contacted. This is an attempt to malign the entire house.
खबरों को देने वाला एक ऐसा ठिकाना है या ऐसा इस सदन के बाहर जो ये संस्था है राज्यसभा का टेलीविजन और उसके सीईओ से लेकर के सीएजी से लेकर के सारा झूठ छप जाए और सब चीज छपे, लेकिन ये हमारे मतलब यानी आसपास डाल दिया जाए, तो इसलिए इसके मामले में ये और इस पर तत्काल स्वीकार करके इस पर बहस भी होना चाहिए और जिन लोगों ने ये काम को किया उनकी सख्त सजा होना चाहिए।
कहीं ना कहीं इसमें साजिश नजर आ रही है, क्योंकि इधर लगातार देख रहे हैं कि राज्यसभा का चैनल, राज्यसभा दोनों पर एक तरीके से साजिश के तहत कुछ ना कुछ आक्रमण हो रहे हैं। इस बारे में चाहता हूँ इस प्रिविलेज मोशन को आप एक्सेप्ट कर लीजिए, प्रिविलेज कमेटी को भेज दीजिए, जिससे सब चीज सही आ जाए।
The LOP and other senior colleagues have effectively presented the issue and it is before the chair. I urge upon the chair to accept this.
Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu urged the House to look into all facts related to the case before admitting the notice.
Before we admit the motion, we have to be sure of how it's going to affect the image of the House also.
Deputy Chairman P.J. Kurian assured the House that a decision will be taken as per the rules.
rule ke anusar dekhunga, we will examine it according to the rules.
2 reports were published in DNA newspaper and Tehelka magazine on the 6th and 8th of April this year about the functioning of Rajya Sabha Secretariat and RSTV. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
International news now, and US President Barack Obama welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to the White House today, hailing the strong US-Japan alliance. The two sides are optimistic of reaching common ground on the swift conclusion of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Pact. China, which has been left out of the 12-nation deal, views it as an attempt to counter its presence in the region.
A meeting between two old allies, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and US President Barack Obama, look to take the next significant step to enhance their relationship. Tearing down trade barriers across the Pacific Rim and countering a rising economic and military threat from China are the focus this time. A major 12-nation Pacific Trade Pact is on the anvil.
Ours is an alliance focused on the future, the security of our nations and the world, trade that is fair and free, and the equal opportunity and human rights of all people around the world and in our countries as well.
繁栄こそが平和を生み出す。その信念が私たちを TPP の早期妥結へと駆り立てます。オバマ大統領との間で二国間の残された課題について大きな進展があったことを歓迎しました。引き続き TPP 交渉の最終局面を出動するために協力し、
China, which is not part of the TPP, sees it as an attempt to counter its economic might in the region and is working on a rival trade deal. But Obama said that Beijing should not view their alliance as a threat.
We don't think that a strong U.S.-Japan alliance should be seen as a provocation. It should be seen as a continuation of the important work that we've done to ensure that you have a stable area where there are diplomatic conflicts, a healthy economic competition.
The two leaders also agreed on new guidelines for defense cooperation, which affirms U.S. commitments to Japan's security. A defense deal allows expansion of Japan's military reach, allowing it to act where U.S. allied nations are under threat. Later in the day, Obama and the First Lady welcomed Abe and his wife for a state dinner at the White House. There was a Broadway musical performance in his honor. The evening came to a close with the two leaders toasting to the magnificent alliance.
To our guests, Prime Minister Abe and Mrs. Abe, to the friendship between our two peoples, and to our magnificent alliance that does so much, not just for our two countries, but for peace and prosperity in the world. May it endure for all seasons and all time. Cheers. Kampai.
Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, visiting Afghan President Ashraf Ghani today extended assurances that he would make efforts to get India included in the proposed Pakistan-Afghanistan-Tajikistan trade corridor to enhance trade to these regions via the road route. On the last day of his India visit, President Ghani held meetings with industry leaders and addressed the media on the changes in terms of interaction in India-Afghanistan relations ahead. He said Afghanistan has huge gas reserves that Indian private companies can make the most of. President Ghani held bilateral talks with Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday, in which the two sides had agreed to cooperate against terror in the region, besides India providing technical assistance to rebuild Afghanistan's economy. Work is underway on 6 agreements to be signed between the two countries in the near future, including the Chabahar port project in Iran.
We look to Indian private sector to be a driver of Afghanistan's future prosperity. We have a number of key assets in Afghanistan. The first of our assets is our location. Until the advent of British colonialism, all roads led to and from Central Asia, Southwest Asia, and South Asia cannot simply communicate with each other over land except through a stable and prosperous Afghanistan.
And with that, it's time to wrap up the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.